Ladies and gents, we're back. Welcome in to the Hollywood Rip Studio for this week's podcast. As always, your one-stop shop for sports and hobby news, the sports card market, and our weekly list of whose cards are trending up and whose cards are trending down. As always, I'm your host, Mr. Hollywood, joined alongside once again by my partner in crime. That's Joe Nasty over there. A whole lot happening in the wide world of sports last week. Maybe most notably, we officially have our NBA Finals matchup. Luka, Kyrie, and the Mavs officially downed Ant-Man and the Wolves. And the number one seed Celtics dispatched of the Halliburton-less Pacers. The NBA Finals set to tip off Thursday night at TD Garden in Boston. We'll start here this week. A very simple question, which I will judge you for, Jonas, at the end of this series.
Right.
Well, maybe even during the series, too.
Probably.
But give us your winner. How many games does it take, and what are your overall thoughts on this series?
First and foremost, good to see you again. Hey.
It's a pleasure.
Oh, thank you. Second of all, I don't want to answer a question with another question, but are you asking me who I think is going to win or who I want to win?
We'll go with both.
Both? Okay.
Yeah, I want both.
Do you remember when we saw a game at the TD Garden way back in like 07?
I do remember
Yeah.
that. I do remember that.
It was right before they got Garnett and Ray Allen, and
Yeah,
there was no one there.
It was pre-Big Three.
Yeah, and greatness of the Celtics fans. Anyways,
They had Paul Pierce.
they had Paul Pierce and Al Jefferson.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
That's right. Anyway, sorry. Doesn't matter. New era, new teams, same arena though. Did you know the Mavs are seeking to become the first ever, I didn't believe this, the first ever 5 seed to win the NBA title?
I did not know that.
Isn't that crazy? So we'll play off of that and say this. The Celtics just cruised through the regular season. They were the number 1 seed basically since the new year. They just cruised through what, according to The Ringer, analytically was perhaps the easiest road to the NBA Finals in NBA history, just trouncing the rest of the Eastern Conference, so much so that they haven't even needed Kristaps Porzingis, at all. Yes, some games were close, especially in that Indy series, but, there was at no point where you didn't think that the Celtics weren't going to make the NBA Finals. Raw numbers, Celtics 2-0 versus the Mavs this year, including a plus 20-point trouncing back in March. But that was before the Mavs really retooled their lineup. Is that what you were going to say?
No.
Okay. But here's the thing. This is essentially the classic battle of best player in the series versus the better team. And the best player is clearly Luka Doncic, although Kyrie is no chopped liver, especially what they did against a really good defensive team, the Minnesota Timberwolves, in the Western Conference Finals, combining for 59 points per game. That's actually pretty remarkable, especially for 2 guards against that Timberwolves team. You know what this series kind of reminds me of? And this might be a stretch, and maybe it's just the jerseys, but it kind of reminds me of 2011, Dirk Nowitzki, Dallas Mavericks versus really the early iteration. I think it's the first time they made the finals, that LeBron, D. Wade, and Chris Bosh Miami Heat team, and they needed to learn how to win. Nowitzki was clearly the best player at that time in that series, and he wasn't really, but
No.
but for 2 weeks he was, and he carried that Mavs team to the title. It kind of reminds me of that. Maybe it's just because it's another not athletically gifted European carrying the Dallas Mavericks, but
Or maybe it's just the Mavericks again.
oh yeah, probably that's probably what it is.
So what's your prediction? Give it to us straight.
It really doesn't matter to me about Porzingis. It doesn't. I think the Celtics are too deep. They've been gunning for this moment. I think Drew Holiday and Derek White make all the difference that they need.
Okay.
Conservatively, I'll say Celtics in 6. And then who do I want to win? Mavericks in 4. But that won't happen. But that would be really nice.
So you're going C's in 6.
Yeah, I really think it's going to be 5. But I'm just going to say maybe the Mavericks steal 1 or 2 here or there.
Sure. Well, I'm going to go with everything based on whether Kristaps Porzingis plays in this series or not. It looks like he will play in this series most likely. But I'm going to go with the Mavs in 7 if Porzingis is out. Celtics in 6 if he's in.
Okay.
Look, the end of the day, the Celtics have 3 20-point scorers on that team when all cylinders are firing. We saw the Mavericks beat the Wolves in the last series. Obviously, Cat stretches the floor as he does have a perimeter game. You had Ant in the backcourt, but you didn't really have a third marquee guy that you had to guard. And look what happened with Naz Reid in that series. Was he Sixth Man of the Year?
He was.
Yeah. I mean, Sixth Man of the Year, but Naz Reid is not Kristaps Porzingis.
No.
And so I think in this situation, Kristaps Porzingis, if he plays, he stretches the floor.
Yes.
So you still have that same presentation, same problem that you had with the Wolves and Cat. I think Jaylen Brown is kind of like your poor man's Ant-Man in this series. And then you have this guy named Jason Tatum.
Heard of him.
Who, at the 3 spot is going to cause a lot of problems. Celtics have some of the best perimeter defense in the league for 3-pointers made against them. In my opinion, Luka and Kyrie can't just keep doing it the whole time.
No. And the other underrated factor, and again, this is from The Ringer, I just read this, about Porzingis is his rim protection. One of the most effective rim protectors in basketball. You don't really think of him as that defensive force.
Underrated.
But he is.
He is.
That makes a big difference, especially against a guard like Kyrie Irving, who's one of the best we've ever seen at creating a shot, getting to the rack, making things happen around the rim. But if Porzingis is there affecting things, and I know he just faced against the Stifle Tower in the Defensive Player of the Year in Rudy Gobert. But again, you have to fight through Brown, Tatum, Derek White, Drew Holiday, and then at the end of the day, fight through Kristaps Porzingis. That's literally a tall tale.
100%. As we're going to move
or a
from...
tall task.
Well, maybe a tail if Porzingis plays or not.
That's true.
But moving from the hardwood to the baseball diamond, 2 teams have officially reached 40 wins. This is our MLB update. Okay. The Yankees in the AL and the Phillies in the NL are the first to make it there. The Guardians, knocking on that door too, 39 wins. I don't know if they won today. That would have been the 40th win, I think. But anyways, Yanks, Guardians, M's, Phils, Brew Crew, and the Dodgers lead their respective divisions. Interestingly, no division closer than 3.5 games aside from that absolute war that is the AL East, Yankees and Orioles. But another week into the season and now officially at the point where we can somewhat confidently say that this team sucks and that one doesn't.
Right.
That being said, anything jumping out at you from the past week in baseball, Joe?
Yeah, did you read my mind from your home to my home as I was preparing my notes? My very first note right there. In fact, I was looking at the standings. I was like, we're really starting to separate the wheat and the chaff. Like, you very much can look at the standings and say, oh yeah, they stink. These are the good teams. Like, we know what to expect right now. And on top of that, very first note, only 3 out of the division races, 3 out of the 6 division races are within 5 games. You narrowed it down a bit more. But interestingly enough, they're all the American League races. The National League, I don't want to say it's settled, because here's the deal. By the way, this show, great on timing, right? Talking about Ronald Acuna. He's just getting examined. But to our credit...
Knee soreness.
Oh, yeah, it's left knee soreness. To our credit, we're like, no, that's bad news. So, yeah, I still fully expect the Braves to make some sort of run and push the Phils. But other than that, I think the Dodgers are already sleepwalking through the season. And the Brewers, I think the Brewers might have the NL Central wrapped up by the All-Star break, because I don't see anything out of the rest of those 4 teams in the NL Central.
I think the Brewers are a fascinating team. I think a lot of people thought they were prime trade candidates at the deadline, maybe to move Willy Adames, move Brandon Woodruff. No one would probably take on the Yelich contract at this point, although Yelich has looked
bounce back
pretty good this year. Just came off of the DL, was actually pretty good last year too. But moving into hobby news for this week, man, there's been a lot of it. But we're going to focus on 2 things this week, the first of which is a new product that hit the market. Fanatics announced the release of Under Wraps Emanate. I did a video about this a little earlier in the week, but it's a new 8x10-inch autographed photo product, all serial numbered to 99 or less. There are golds numbered to 50, oranges to 25, reds to 5, and the iridescent 1 of 1s. What's more, they're all presented in a luxurious folio and pre-inserted into a gigantic 8x10-inch one-touch mag holder. They cost $200 a pop, and the checklist is pretty solid. 50 players, mix of Hall of Famers, former greats, current superstars, and rookies. I never thought the day would come where we'd take cards and make them, call them photos, but just basically blow them up by 3 times the size and take up 3 times the space. But here we are, Jonas. Your thoughts on UW Emanate?
Yeah, so is this within the same family as the Under Wraps and like they're doing the jerseys and like
Correct.
the mini helmets? Yeah, I thought this was really interesting. We've essentially moved into, I guess you could say they're monetizing the breaks, right? Like you all want to sit there and wonder about the mystery of what's to come. Well, we're going to put a flashy title on it, right? And then they're going to pay us more for it. I did take a little look at this. I thought it was really interesting on the website for the jersey ones and for the mini helmets, and I think for the cards as well. No prices to be found.
The photos.
Yes, the photos, excuse me. No prices on there.
Photos, $200.
So I'm glad you brought that up because I didn't know that. Also, they have WrestleMania. They have basically every other sport. Everything's sold out except for the NHL ones. Come on. Can we get some love for the hockey? The Stanley Cup finals are about to be set, I think.
Is that really a shocker?
No. I just like...
Well, look, here's my thoughts on it. I think the designs of these things are actually really cool. I think the way it's laid out, you know, with the 2 photos on it and the design with the autograph, I think they're really cool. My issue is, of course, when you open a box of cards, it takes up the space of, you know, maybe a few inches on a table, right? If I say I wanted to get a Aaron Judge Emanate photo, right? And I opened 10 of these things to try and get it. What am I going to do with 10 8x10s? Like, where am I going to put that?
You got to have the space, yeah.
So, yeah, you got to have the space. My problem is that this is going to take up a lot of space. So, I think this product will actually do better on the secondary market as opposed to the normal market. I think people will know who they want. They'll let other people open it and they'll go out and buy what they want. I think that's the more likely scenario for this type of product. But we had one other big hobby story this week we wanted to touch base on, and that is the recent Golden Auctions sale of the 2003 Ultimate Collection Michael Jordan Logo Man Autograph 1 of 1, which officially sold the other day for $2,928,000. Now the most expensive MJ card ever sold. Any quick thoughts on that one, Jonas?
People still love MJ. I feel like the Jordan brand is stronger than it's ever been, honestly, in like the streetwear market as well. My only thought was, what player could ever top that in today's age? And so I posed the question right back to you. Do you think a LeBron card could ever top that?
That's a great question.
Thank you. I thought so too.
All I can tell you is MJ's previous high sale was a 98 game used patch card, which sold for $2.7 million. I think the big draw with this one is MJ had his first Logo Man in 2002, but it was a Wizards card.
Oh.
And so people didn't really give a rat's A about the Wizards Logo Man MJ.
Right.
But 2003, and this card that we're seeing sold, is the first Bulls 1 of 1 game used Logo Man, which is why I think the prices got so high. But to answer your question, I believe LeBron James has had sales around that vicinity. I couldn't tell you the exact number, but I think when something is so rare, right? 2003, this was also LeBron's rookie year.
It was, yeah.
When something's so rare, we're gonna see prices like this, especially for the all-time greats. Also, really quick, last night we weren't planning on talking about this, but Paul Skeen's first Bowman autograph Superfractor sold also on Golden. Man, Golden's crushing it.
Yeah.
For $80,000 last night, and that card was just a PSA 7.
Really?
Just a PSA 7. But it's never a surprise that during the playoffs, like basketball we're seeing now, as we are moving on, by the way, we see huge spikes and declines in the prices of certain players' cards, and this NBA playoffs has been no different. On this week's scorching hot cards of the week that aren't the Michael Jordan one-of-one logo, man.
Yeah, that's lava.
Or the Skeens
Nuclear,
Superfractor. We look no further than Dallas Mavericks forward Luka Doncic. Luka averaged a ridiculous 32.4 points a game, 9.6 boards, and 8.2 assists en route to dispatching of Anthony Edwards and the Wolves in just 5 games. Jonas, I feel like fans have been waiting years to see Luka in the finals. He's been such a hot commodity for several years now, and we finally get it here. What have your thoughts been on Luka so far?
He's special. I mean, we said a lot sort of in the NBA Finals preview in that he's the best player in a series with Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kristaps Porzingis, and Kyrie Irving, future Hall of Famer right there. In terms of the cards, in terms of the value, he's already probably expensive as it is. And yet, especially depending what happens over the next 2 weeks, this is probably the lowest his get-in price will be for the next, 7 to 10 years or so. So if you want that Luka merch, if you want that Luka card, you're going to have to move fast because depending what happens here, it could skyrocket in about 2 weeks or so, around Father's Day.
We'll see. We'll see. His prices are pretty crazy right now.
They're already high. That's what I'm saying. But if he wins, I mean, sky's the limit on that, right?
Well, we'll discuss this in a minute, but first we're going to take a look at Luka Doncic's card market over the past few weeks. We can see it has been absolutely on fire to no surprise. His 2018 Prism Silver rookie card continuing to surge and now sitting at $2,000 in PSA condition, up over 56% in the past 2 weeks. These prices will continue to move as the series with the Celtics progresses. Our advice on this one, if you're asking me,
Sure.
I'm actually selling Luka Doncic right now. How much higher do you think his price goes if the Mavs were to win it all and Luka were to be Finals MVP? Personally, I don't see it doubling again. Any thoughts from you on that? Maybe you do.
I do.
4,000 for a PSA 10 Luka Silver?
I think the mystique, I think the Luka magic, I think Luka Doncic has quietly been building up steam, and I think he just put together an all-time Western Conference Finals. And if he puts on something in the same sphere as what Dirk did in 2011, which was an all-time performance to carry a pretty paltry team against those Heatles, I think if he does anything similar to that, I mean, you just said the numbers that he did in the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah.
If he almost averages a triple-double in the NBA Finals against the built-to-win right now Boston Celtics, yeah, call me crazy, and you probably will. It's nothing I haven't called myself.
I will.
I think it could potentially do that.
Okay. Well, we're going to continue on to our second hot card of the week. And we head to the baseball world. It's Yankees starting pitcher. We've done all Yankees have been the hot cards the last couple weeks.
They're one of the best teams in baseball.
But it's Yankees starting pitcher Luis Gil. I believe I'm pronouncing that right. What Luis has done lately, well, only compiled 5 wins last month, tossing 32 innings, striking out 39 with a, ready for this?
What?
An ERA of 0.84. And a whip that's even lower.
Unhittable.
0.71. Now, I know he's always been considered a top-level talent, but man, did he get lost in the Yankees' headlines this year with Soto coming in, Volpe being great so far this year, Judge being on another planet the past month.
Right.
But this guy has a 1.99 ERA and a 0.95 whip heading into June now. Jonas, my other J. Is this kid that good, or are we just seeing a flash in the pan?
Well, look, you got to be good and you got to be confident to have that neck tat that he has. Are you familiar with what I'm talking about? He's got one right here.
You can see it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you can see it. So you got to have confidence in order to do that. This is a guy that the Twins traded to the Yankees for Jake Cave, who I only bring up because we just saw him Friday night as a member of the Rockies. Twins might want that one back. But regardless, another fun fact about Luis Gil. This is a guy who now owns the Yankees single-game strikeout record with 14 strikeouts back against the hapless White Sox on May 18th, breaking which former Yankee? Do you know this?
Ooh, you're going to have to riddle me that one.
All right. I thought I would take a shot with this one, but I think it's going to really tickle your history brain right there. El Duque, Orlando
wow.
Hernandez.
Yeah, that leg kick.
Yeah,
How
the
can you
leg
forget
kick,
it?
the flipping of the glove with the ball in it. And I only bring that up because how serendipitous El Duque actually threw out the first pitch of that game.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible.
That's nice, so cool.
That's
I
incredible.
had to throw that. It's pretty remarkable.
Amazing.
But look, here's the thing. I do think Luis Hill has staying power. This is the guy who's already had his TJ, his Tommy John surgery. Only 25, although that number, you're getting to that point where it's like, it's make or break, which makes me feel terrible at my age of also 25. Wink. He's done a really good job, though, of filling that Garrett Cole-sized hole in the Yankees' rotation. Is it staying power? I think Hill probably doesn't put up these numbers the rest of the year,
Right.
but is an important part of the Yankees' rotation as they battle those Orioles for the AL East.
Yeah, I think that's a good take on it. Garrett Cole due back very soon. I believe he's starting his rehab assignment this week.
Yes.
But we're going to take a gander at the card market for Luis Hill over the past couple weeks. We can see his 2019 Bowman Chrome Prospect Autograph in raw condition, currently sitting at $57. That's a 76.3% increase over the past 2 weeks, with 70 total sales of that card. Yankees in first place, still waiting on the return, obviously, as we alluded to, of Garrett Cole. Obviously, I don't think Hill will keep up these kind of numbers either. I mean, look, even Imanaga got shelled last week. Buy, sell, hold. Personally, for me, I don't see this card as a buy at the moment. I think with Cole really getting back into form, and obviously he's going to slot into the top of the rotation, you still have Judge making so much noise, Soto making so much noise. Look, this card is still $57. It's still very cheap. Even if this card was double the price and he continues to pitch at this level, I'd still say that's probably a bargain if he's going to be this type of pitcher for the years to come.
Yeah.
But the other thing you have to remember is that pitchers just are not sexy to the hobby.
Right.
Pitchers just don't carry this sort of value, which is why it was so crazy to me that we saw the Paul Skeens Superfractor sell for $80,000. I mean, that's wild. Like you're one injury away, you're one Matt Harvey away.
It's true.
From that card being worth $300. For me, you got to be a truly dominant Cy Young legend to carry any sort of value as a pitcher. So that's just me. Are you buying, selling, holding?
I'm selling as well because I think, as we sort of talked about with Luka, differently.
Well, I'm holding.
I'm selling. I think this is the time to get going on your Luis Hill cards because similarly, I think he'll be good the rest of his career. I just don't know if he's going to be ace level.
Yeah.
Maybe he is. I could be totally wrong. But when Cole comes back, who's the lefty that they signed last year? That Rondon. Couldn't think of Carlos Rondon. When Rondon comes back. Rodon. Exactly.
He's been very good this year.
He has, exactly. So the innings aren't necessarily going to be there. As you said, Imanaga is getting shelled. Like, you're going back around the league. You have to get used to the number of starts and all the innings. He's going to start hitting his career highs in innings. I sell now while he's having the start and establishing himself.
Well, I think the innings will be there, right? I think he just will eventually kind of get lost in the mix of all those superstars, and not just in the lineup, but also in the rotation. But transitioning now from guys who've been, damn, that's hot, to damn, that's cold. For every yes, there's a no. Yes. For every Harry Potter, there's a Voldemort. And for every Mewtwo, there's a Diglett. Oh. These are our cold cards of the week, starting with Minnesota Timberwolves guard Anthony Edwards. And is it really even a shocker? The Georgia standout, who some believe is the long-lost son of Michael Jordan.
It's the ears.
Jimmy Butler, too. Why not? Long-lost son of Michael Jordan. Led the Wolves to the West Finals after an absolutely wild conference semifinal come-from-behind elimination of the defending champion Denver Nuggets. He saw his PSA 10 silver prices soar close to the $1,800 mark. We saw a dip when they lost 3 straight to the Nuggets to put them on the brink of elimination, and then shoot right back up when they won that game and the series. But here comes the Ant-Man crash. We're anticipating a 30 to 50% correction relatively quickly. These are the dangers of buying anyone while they're hot. Any thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think this has sort of been the theme of today's episode. I still think that this is about as low of the price is going to be on Anthony Edwards as you're going to see for a long time. He and his team are only improving every single year. Lose early in the playoffs last year, make it all the way to the Western Conference Finals. Sort of a spotty playoff run last year, essentially carries his team to a top 2 seed and a run again to the Western Conference Finals. I believe in him. I think he's got the attitude. I think he wants nothing more than to be a superstar, which he basically is already. Don't let this momentary disappointment distract you from what's going to be taking place over the next decade or so. I don't want to beat you to the punch, but I'm still buying Anthony Edwards. Like, not holding,
Really?
not selling. Oh yeah, I'm buying for sure. Especially right now, after the quote-unquote disappointment. Yeah, like the team's not ready to win. So they're going to take off in the next 2 or 3 years, presumably.
Well, agree to disagree. I'll get into it in a sec, but we're going to take a look, see at the Ant-Man PSA 10 Silver Prism rookie card. We can see it starting its way downward after a crazy few weeks of upward movement. The card last sold for just $977 2 days ago. That's a far cry from $1,600 to $1,800 like it was going for a couple weeks ago. Maybe a couple outliers on the high end, but this card is already down 20-30% since his elimination already, falling fast. I know you already touched on your buy, sell, hold. For me, I am still selling Ant.
Really?
And I just think his prices have another 20-30% to fall. And I think these are going to get darn close to where they were before the playoffs. I think this is going to be a $700 card again. A $600 to $700 card again. Right. At $600 to $700, then I am buying that card.
All right.
Because look, like you said, he's young. He'll be back here.
Yes, presumably.
Presumably. He's 22 years old. He will be back in this position, and we will see a crazy spike again. At $600, are you going to make money on an Ant card at $600 if he makes the NBA Finals? 100%.
Yeah.
If you buy it right now at $1,000,
I think you do. If he makes the NBA Finals in the future, I think you do.
Tatum's silver rookie is $1,000 right now, and he's in the finals.
Yeah. There seems to be a different, and I know this is the hot word these days, but there seems to be a different aura around Anthony Edwards, which is remarkable for a guy on the Timberwolves. I just think people smell the it factor on him.
Okay. Well,
I think I'm buying more into storyline. I think you're coming at it with cold, hard facts. I've always been a bit of a dreamer, so I don't know what you want me to say.
Well, we'll agree to disagree. We'll let the viewers decide who's right and who's wrong. Moving into our second cold card of this week's show, and this one may or may not be surprising
I couldn't believe it.
to you, but it's actually Spurs Rookie of the Year, Victor Wembanyama. After a historic rookie year, arguably the best ever, getting snubbed of the Defensive Player of the Year. Who else saw Rudy Gobert on roller skates against Luka Doncic last week? Defensive Player of the Year, my A. Wemby prices... I know. Look, but don't touch.
I won't.
Wemby prices have continued their precipitous drop from sky-high levels in March and April. Do we see these flooring soon, or do you think they still have room to fall?
Yeah, I looked online because you sent me this, and I couldn't believe what my eyes were showing me. And I still saw rookie cards for $1,200 to $1,500. Is that just the perfect tens that we're talking here? Or is it just dropped that far precipitously?
Well, I mean, it totally depends, right, on the parallel, on what cards you're talking about.
Right.
Right.
It was, I think it was the Prism.
Yeah, I mean, Prism Silvers, as we'll take a look at, I mean, they were selling easy $2,200, $2,300, $2,400. I mean, I saw one sell the other day for $900.
That's crazy.
So,
I truly, I don't really get it. Like,
so floor? No? More?
is it just a product of he's just not playing right now and he hasn't played in 2 months?
No, I think it's just more of like, this is, the hype has kind of simmered down a bit.
Right, sure. We haven't seen him in a while, and like the prices were probably so crazy that people were like, okay, I got it. Yeah. So I think if we're not at the floor right now, maybe we have one more elevator drop to go.
Sure.
But it's not too far. If we're on the third floor,
sure,
maybe we're 2 away from the first floor. of the building. But again, you still got to get in on the Wemby train regardless.
Right. As we'll take a look at the 2024 Wemby Rookie Silver Prism now in a PSA 10. Although all of his cards taking similar dips in value, we can see the prices of the card are down over 60% from highs back in March with 386 total sales. So this is not an outlier. This is a legitimate trend downward, down to the low to mid $900 mark. As we said earlier, these were selling easily north of $2,200 just a couple months ago, with all of his other rookie cards just shedding more than half of its value as well. But again, it's a little bit, this is somewhat normal for this to happen at the outset, even for someone as transcendent as Wemby. Right. Hype dies down, people aren't as hysterical. But look, I think similar to what you said before, I think if this isn't the floor, maybe there's another 10%.
Yeah.
Maybe there's another 10% below this. But in my opinion, this is the time to buy Wemby. And
sure,
if he goes down another 10%, you keep buying it. But here's how I compare it. Luka Doncic is in the NBA Finals. One of the most popular, I would argue the most popular player in the league over the past 3 years.
You won't really find anyone say anything negative about Luka Doncic.
Right. His silver is $2,000 right now.
Mm-hmm.
He wins the championship. Maybe we see a $3,000 Luka silver.
Yeah.
You're telling me that Wembanyama, who is the best prospect since LeBron James, outperformed LeBron James as a rookie. His Prism Silver in a PSA 10 is now $900. If Wemby goes to the finals, I can guarantee you that card is at least the price of the Luka Silver.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's a buy.
Yeah, for sure. I agree 100% with you. I mean, Luka's been in the league now 7 years, give or take.
18.
Yeah, so right around.
Sixth year, I think?
Yeah, sixth year, maybe seventh season since the NBA plays over to the calendar switch.
Right.
So it's taken him a bit. Like, Victor Wembanyama is not going to make the NBA Finals next year. And here's a theory.
Unless LeBron goes there.
Yeah, fascinating. But here's my theory. Let's say Luka Doncic does win the NBA Finals. Then all the focus is going to go on him, rightfully so. Mm-hmm. Those prices are going to soar. And then I really think you see the Victor Wembanyama, the prices probably bottom out as low as they'll ever be for a long time coming. That's probably what you wait for as all the attention shifts and people are not necessarily focusing on Vic. But you got to buy now because this isn't going to be the norm for much longer.
Yeah, look, for me, I salivate at these prices for Wembanyama right now. But moving into the last part of our show, it's the buy opportunity segment where we discuss cards that are on the downs that you can look into acquiring at a low price that have potential to hit it big. This week, we're starting with New York Jets wide receiver Garrett Wilson. In 2 years in the NFL, he's compiled 2 1,000-yard campaigns already, 7 touchdowns, and had over 300 targets. May I point out, with 2 quarterbacks who, with all due respect to them, are not good at throwing footballs. Good at throwing footballs maybe to the other team.
Yeah.
Good at throwing footballs that are getting caught by the ground, maybe.
Also Zach Wilson.
Good at getting sacked, maybe.
Also Zach Wilson.
Maybe strip sacked.
Joe Flacco.
But obviously a big deal getting a guy named Aaron Rodgers back behind center. And man, if Aaron is anything like he used to be pre-Achilles tear, Garrett Wilson could be on track for a massive year. Thoughts on Garrett Wilson?
Yeah, so the former Offensive Rookie of the Year did take basically a half step backwards last year. The numbers are not really noticeably different, but he did take a step back. Like, that's undeniable. You alluded to the QBs that he's had. And so this all comes down to not necessarily Garrett Wilson and the faith you have in him, because I think he's a very talented young man out of Ohio State. Sorry, the Ohio State University. Don't come at me, Buckeye Nation. So what's your faith level in a 4-year-old who just missed an entire year, who perhaps you could say wasn't even that great his last year in Green Bay, coming off an Achilles tear? Do you feel good about Aaron Rodgers coming back? Because if you do, then that Jets wide receiver is going to soar. If you don't, then that Jets wide receiver is going to be grounded. That's some good airplane puns right there.
I'll talk about that when I get into my buy, sell, hold part about this.
Sure.
But we're going to take a look here at the sales of Garrett Wilson's 2022 Contenders rookie ticket autograph in a PSA 10. We can see his price spike right before the season last year was up to about $300. Currently, we're seeing the same card sell in the $150 to $160 range, so a 50% discount. Definitely some upside here for a guy who has the potential to break out for the Jets, so long as Aaron Rodgers stays in one piece. Buy, sell, hold. Obviously, you alluded to Aaron Rodgers. It kind of all depends on Aaron Rodgers.
It does.
Yes, Aaron Rodgers is not the guy anymore that's going to scamper around and throw 40 touchdown passes. You know, I think we can agree that those years probably are behind him, but we did see a little bit of a renaissance in Aaron Rodgers in the past couple years before he got hurt. And here's the kicker. The Jets have a very talented backfield.
They do.
Breece Hall is a stud.
He's good. Also coming off an injury, though, right?
Yeah, but he came back last year and proved that he was, for the most part, every bit of what he was before. He's still super explosive. So look, and this is, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but if that offensive line can protect Aaron Rodgers, and if that running game, if Breece Hall is the 1,000-yard man with 10-plus touchdowns that we all know he can be, then I think Garrett Wilson is in for a massive year.
I honestly don't trust Aaron Rodgers as much as you do.
Okay.
And you may remember when he got hurt, it wasn't even his fault. It was because they play on that turf.
Yes, it was.
Not the fact that he is, again, 40 years old and playing a lifetime of football at both JUCO and at Cal and in Green Bay and now in New York. Here's the other factor that's not really being talked about. You and I and our friends actually talked about this on Friday when we were talking about the New York Mets, saying, is this the most dysfunctional? Is this the most, they're going to screw it up franchise? And as we're sitting here, I'm like, wait a second. There's another secondary team in New York that kind of fits that bill.
Yeah.
Because the Jets aren't going to make it happen. Like, something will go wrong this year for the New York Jets. Even though, as much as I love their new uniform rebrand,
It's sick.
it's very good.
I like it.
It's very good. It's that perfect renaissance back to what we love the most, but also like a little bit of a modern touch. Regardless, that doesn't matter. That does not matter. I don't trust Rodgers as much because I saw the signs of decline his final year in Green Bay.
Yeah.
And again, 40 years old.
Yeah.
Not everyone's Tom Brady.
Let's be honest. Like you said, it's the Jets.
Yes. I mean, that's the only fact you need.
If there's a team that's going to find a way to this letter it up late in the year, this might be a prime candidate.
Yeah.
But we're going to move into our last buying opportunity card of the week, and you might be surprised here because we're going to talk to you guys about a guy who is perhaps the biggest baseball prospect since Bryce Harper, but he got called up earlier this year for just 10 games. What did he do? He struck out 18 times in 34 at-bats, logged 0 extra base hits for a batting average of .059. He only played 10 games and his WAR was negative .5 in just 10 games.
So he's worse than an average player.
Way worse. Of course, we're talking about Baltimore Orioles 20-year-old second baseman, Jackson Holliday. That's presumably where he's going to play for them. He's back down in AAA, but no surprise, he has an OPS over 900s, hitting .283 with 6 homers, 24 ribs, and 4 stolen bags. His card prices have cooled off significantly since his historically horrendous debut, but the talent is so mouthwatering. It's hard to not envision this kid figuring it out in the future. And what was it, a 30 at-bat sample size for a 20-year-old?
Yeah.
Like, what are your thoughts on Jackson Holliday? I can't believe that, honestly, that sample size is really enough for me to be like, yeah, let's slash these prices by 60%.
Look, key word or key term, 20 years old, right? Like, that's unbelievable that you're expecting Hall of Fame All-Star moments from a 20-year-old. I get that he's got the MLB All-Star dad, which, again, another factor why I think Jackson Holliday is going to figure it out. Like, talking about, maybe not a savant, but Matt Holliday really knew how to rip it. Like, those mid-2000s, early 2010 Rocky teams, and when Matt Holliday then went to the Cardinals, like, that's a guy who knows how to hit and obviously knows how to teach his kids, because his other son, Ethan, is also a top prospect coming up soon. So he knows how to coach. He just knows the game. So, yeah, Jackson's fine. Look, the strikeouts were a ton, and his numbers since he's gone back to the minors, as you said, have been very good. But 42 games in the minors, 44 strikeouts. To go along with 44 walks.
This year.
But he's getting more and more experience in pro ball, and he's getting more and more tape. Am I that worried about him? Yeah, no. He'll be... Look, his biggest issue just might be the franchises because Gunnar Henderson is right up there for the Major League lead in home runs.
Absolutely.
And all the Orioles do is produce middle infielders like it's no one's business. So, yeah.
As we take a look at Jackson Holliday's 2022 Bowman Draft First Chrome Prospect autograph card, in raw condition, currently down over 46% over the past 6 months to around $300 for a raw copy of the card. Just to give you an idea of the upside potential, Ellie De La Cruz had his first Bowman autographs in raw condition, doing $800 to $900 at one point last year when he came up. Obviously, when he came up, he set the world on fire.
For sure.
He was insane the first week. But it looks like there's some value still to be had with Jackson Holliday here, in my opinion. Look, if you want to invest in a generational talent, you got to remember he's 20 years old.
Yeah. Key.
$300 is not a bad price point at all. If you're patient and you like to prospect a little bit, let's just compare this a little bit. $300, right? Junior Caminero, right?
Big star of the show.
Big star. His numbers have been nuts in the minors for a couple years now. His cards are right around that same kind of price, right? And Jackson Holliday, the strikeouts have really just been a thing of the past 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And as we all know, baseball is a very mental game, right? So yeah, he goes to the major league level, gets embarrassed for 10 days, goes back to the minors. Sure, it's going to kind of be flirting around in the back there. I don't think these strikeouts that are going on right now are so much Jackson Holliday can't hit a baseball. I think they're more Jackson Holliday's kind of fighting some demons and some scarring from his initial trip up. But yeah, like you said, I think he'll be fine. I think $300 is a great price point
For sure.
For Jackson Holliday. Do you have any last words on Holliday? Or
No, I agree completely.
Okay.
Short and sweet.
Short and sweet. Couple honorable mentions. We have Trae Young. Price is way down on Trae Young. I mean, way down. Along with John Morant, could be two big-time bounce-back candidates next year. And who isn't excited to see C.J. Stroud throw to Stephon Diggs next year? Of course, Joe Mixon in the backfield there. I'll take it even further. What the heck? The whole 2020-2021 QB class, which had a horrible year. I mean, talk about a down year.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow, granted he was hurt. Cards way down. Trevor Lawrence got hurt. Cards way down. Herbert, cards were down. Jalen Hurts, cards were down. All of these guys, cards dropped off significantly. Do you think any of those could be a buy going into this year?
I think Burrow for sure, because this is also probably his last year of throwing to Jamar Chase as well as
T. Higgins.
T. Higgins, thank you so much. I was about to say Higbee, the Rams tight end. Herbert for sure, the arm talent, the physicality is through the roof as it is. And then I can't help but get excited about Jim Harbaugh coming in and what he does with basically any team that he ever works with. Now, Hurts, I don't think so. Something smells there in Philadelphia, and I couldn't believe the way they finished that last season. Just really straight into the pooper. It was unbelievable what happened for a team that made the Super Bowl and started off so well just to finish terribly. And this might surprise you, but Lawrence, that's a no for me.
Okay.
Like, I think he's been good. I think he's, at the very least, proven to be worth being drafted number 1 overall.
Yeah.
but I don't think he's been the generational talent that we saw as a freshman at Clemson, which is that's unfair. Totally unfair to say for a kid. But that's what he's been earmarked for since he was in high school.
Yeah, I mean, he was a guy who didn't lose a game before he got to the NFL. Until
his last year
at Clemson, right? But riddle me this. Does Trevor Lawrence need to be a generational talent in that division?
In that division, no. But it's also a division that looks like it's primed to be dominated by C.J. Stroud.
Especially with Stephon Diggs on the field there as well.
Exactly.
Well, that will do it for us here at the studio for episode number 2. We hope you enjoyed today's show. Big announcement. We have some really exciting reviews coming for this next week. To celebrate the start of the NBA Finals, I will be reviewing some huge 2024 Hoops hobby boxes, including Prism Hobby, that is, Prism Mega, Select Hobby, Select Mega, Recon Hobby, and the ultimate D-Gen product of the year. It is the Panini Crown Royale.
Our friends.
Of course, the horribly off-centered Kabooms.
Yes.
Yeah. That's the best card that I could possibly pull is a PSA 7 Victor Wembanyama Kaboom. So make sure to mark your calendars and come watch me set my money on fire for your entertainment purposes. Once again, it's always a huge help to us if you drop a like on today's video. I know it was a lengthy one. As well as subscribe to the channel. You guys are what's going to keep this thing going into the future. So until next time, that's Jonas. I'm Mr. Hollywood, and we'll see you next time right back here at Hollywood Rips. Mr. Hollywood, out.